Hey guys, this is Wolf from Trimaris again. I'm going to do the last segment of our required armor in the SCA for heavy combat. Let's get right to it. Today we're going to cover hands, elbows, knees and toes. So let's start off with our hands. We want to protect those phalanges. So for most of us, we're going to start off with a sword and shield. We're going to have a shield with a basket hilt that is obviously much better fixed than this for demonstration purposes. And we are going to have a demi-gauntlet. This demi-gauntlet was bought from Bakalo's Armory. You can get a pair of them for like $50, which is not overpriced. It's a kind of a one-size-fits-all. Not super comfortable, but they work, and they haven't really given me much problem. They've also taken a beating and just kept going. With the demi-gauntlet, we're going to cover 2 inches behind our wrist. We're going to cover the top of the hand and the thumb. I usually wear a glove with padding on it, so that covers our 1/4 inch of required padding on this hand. When I hold the sword, my wrist is not exposed. The inside, the wrist is not exposed. So no matter what shot I throw, I'm not going to get hit on the inside of the wrist, because even though there's a gap right here, my arm armor comes underneath and protects that area. So that's actually a very good way to kind of guarantee a pass, is have your wrist armor extend back a little bit farther than your arm armor, and have it be a little loose on the wrist armor so it doesn't bind with the arm armor. Now, speaking of arm armor, we're going to want to have a solid material. It doesn't have to be rigid, but it has to be a good thick material with at least a 1/4 inch of closed-cell foam or equivalent, and that is to guarantee that this arm and all the vessels from within don't get broken or busted or anything of that nature. In Trimaris, we require that from the point of the elbow to the wrist on the ulna side, which is the outside here, pinky side, be covered with rigid material, because we don't want that ulna to break, because in a lot of situations that ulna is exposed and the radial is closer to the body. Also, we have to cover all 3 points of the elbow, and that is at all times, meaning that even though you're throwing shots and running around and having fun, no matter what you do, your arm armor should not ever be compromised due to movement. So, this is one of my arms. I got these from Duke Baldar. He makes these for Valkyrie Forge. You might want to inquire to him about them. They're light. You can cover them in leather and design them to your choosing. Also, if you throw the Kydex in the oven, you can kind of form it, especially to you and your pads. So it really does work well. These elbow cops are absolutely great. I've thrown an extra piece of closed-cell foam in the elbow. I do have foam for the inside of this arm, but I actually just wear a paintball slider pad, which has gel packs all the way down the ulna and around the arm, and that constitutes my padding. So when we put our arm armor on, it's going to cover the ulna with the rigid material, the point of the elbow, the outside and the inside of the elbow. And when we fully extend, this lame comes up just enough to protect that tendon. That's really it for arms. Some of you might be tempted to use hockey gloves for gauntlets. Hockey gloves in themselves do not constitute as a gauntlet. They are a good base for a gauntlet, but they are not a gauntlet themselves. The SCA will count them as a good form of padding, and I've seen people go to armorers and have just the metal fingers made, and they've affixed them to the hockey gloves, and now they have a good set of gauntlets. Make sure that if you are going to use a hockey glove, you check with your local marshalate, make sure that they're going to let you. Some areas it's extremely discouraged, some areas it's encouraged. So check with your local marshalate on the hockey glove. Not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying you should. It's just something you might want to look into. Let's go on to our knee armor. This is one of my knees. I picked it up from icefalcon.com. or IceFalconArmory.com. His Grace Duke Ice Falcon makes some really quality armor. I've had these for 3 or 4 years. They've absolutely taken a beating, and they don't even look scratched up. So, you know, kudos to him for some of the quality work he does. Again, it's kind of a one-size-fits-all. You make it fit you. I wear knee pads, so I don't require the padding on the inside here because the knee pad covers the padding. But what we're looking for is the knee must extend 2 inches below the knee and 2 inches above the knee. Also, both sides of the tendons must be protected. The outside must have a larger lane, or at least have, like the elbow cup, enough to protect those tendons. You don't want to get hit in the knee accidentally and have your knee taken out from under you. It's not fun. Now on to our toes. I recommend a combat boot or a high ankle style cleat. Metal cleats are forbidden in most kingdoms, as I know. As far as I know, should I say. I prefer the combat boot. It's a good amount of traction, great ankle support. Also doesn't look very mundane. Once you have your armor over it and you have some garb that kind of comes down a little bit, it looks just like a standard boot that you would have in the 14th to 15th century. But I get the added benefit of that steel toe. I have seen some movement restrictions with it because that toe does not move. So, if you're pushing off, it does kind of dig into your toes a bit. So cleats are a very good option as well. Just make sure you cover them with leather or another style of period covering, like maybe a savant, a French covering that's kind of like lames for your feet, to prevent people from going, oh man, that guy's wearing a Nike shoe. He doesn't look very period, because we are playing a game that is supposed to take place in a period time and place. So other than that, that should cover all your armor. Our next lesson is going to cover acknowledgement of a blow and legal striking areas, as well as maybe some rules of engagement. But you guys be safe out there and have fun.